I was having a conversation online with some people who say that the porn industry is not demonic. Some of these people even say they are Christians and porn is perfectly fine. Let's not even get into how many of the behaviors portrayed in the porn industry are actually things that the Bible speaks out against, okay? But let's look at this from another angle. An angle that Christians and atheists should be able to agree on, okay? Let's talk about sex slave trafficking. The United Nations Office on Drug and Crime defines human trafficking as any situation in which force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power or vulnerability, or giving payments or benefits to a person in control are used to exploit another person. Okay. So if you have any of these things, then it's human trafficking. Okay? So data from WebRoot Cybersecurity estimates that 28,258 users are watching pornography every second, and 35% of all internet downloads are related to pornography. Okay. 2019 trafficking in persons report from the U.S. Department of State highlighted an example of this. The report revealed that some traffickers in Asia pose as model or actors agencies. They use fraudulent recruitment techniques to coerce Japanese men and women and girls into signing vague contracts and then threaten them with legal action if they don't participate in pornographic films. Okay. So basically they're tricking people and lying to them. Okay. Even in the mainstream porn entertainment industry, recruiting and employment actors and actresses can involve deception, threats, and drug use. Porn producers sometimes act as pimps on the side, selling their performers as escorts. So there's a lot of lying and trickery that goes into that. All right, which that's already not a good thing for an industry that you say is not demonic. I mean, I don't care what industry it is. If there's a lot of lying and deception going on, then it's demonic. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if we talk about the fast food industry. Okay. In 2020, Derek Hay, owner of porn entertainment agency LA Direct Models, was one of several defendants charged with pandering in accounts of unlawfully procuring people for the purpose of prostitution. Porn actresses attested to being pressured by Hay into prostitution through a partnering business. They were threatened with repercussions upon refusal. Okay. The four women who filed initial complaints remained anonymous for fear of facing retaliatory physical or mental harm and the ruin of their careers. So basically, this dude took these porn stars and forced them to do prostitution on the side, which is sex slave trafficking, by the way. Okay. Yes, you can say, well, they're porn stars. That doesn't mean they can be forced to have sex with people. Okay. That is still sex slave trafficking. And yes, it's connected to porn. Okay. So what about those free porn websites? Well, those sites, man, some of those sites were actually found to have illegal sexual content on there. Child sex pornography, sexual abuse, rapes being filmed, child sex trafficking. Pornhub had a number of documented cases of child sexual abuse there, illegal sexual abuse. Now, you had some credit card companies that actually got up and stopped processing payments for them. Now, Pornhub at some point deleted millions of videos and actually increased requirements for uploading videos. But the thing is, who knows how many of those videos online that you watched were actually actual examples of rape or somebody having sex with a minor. You really don't know, man. Okay. Because the requirements weren't that good. They had to increase requirements. Okay. 2019, a porn company called Girls Do Porn was charged with sex trafficking almost dozen women. Okay. A few months later, a woman named they call her Jane Doe because they don't give her a real name out, won a lawsuit against the company for forcing, tricking, and coercing them into shooting porn. Okay. But here's the thing, man. For years, these free porn websites didn't have proper tools to actually address whether the stuff being uploaded to these sites was actually sex slave trafficking. They got fined. A couple of those sites got fined by the government and paid a good amount of money, and they admitted that they actually didn't know if a lot of this stuff being uploaded was actually film of women being raped. They didn't know if this stuff was actually, some of these women were minors. They didn't know if these people were being forced or coerced to do it. They don't know. They don't know. That's the big issue. Um, Sex trafficking in the porn industry, man, have a very strong connection. Okay, and let's be honest. Even back in the day, when I used to watch those porn videos, you watching videos, videos, porn videos where they were taking film for places all over the world. You don't know if that was sex slave trafficking. You don't know that. You don't know if those women were being raped. You don't know if they was being tricked or forced into doing it. And let's be honest, you don't know if some of those women on those porno DVDs back in the day were actually underage girls. And let's be honest, you didn't sit up there and try and verify that. I know I didn't, and I don't think you did either. Okay, sex slave trafficking and the porn industry go hand in hand, bro. When you were sitting up there whacking off to this stuff or enjoying it, you don't know if that stuff. You don't know if those women are being forced to do it. You don't know if they're rape. Somebody's filming a actual rape scene. Because I've watched some videos back in the day where I assumed, they were just, telling a story. Okay, I assumed that they were, there were videos, man, where someone was no, no, please, no, and I thought, hey, they were just, doing some phony crap where they're enacting a rape or a sexual assault, like they role playing, role playing. But maybe some of that role playing wasn't actually role playing. Okay, yeah. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation reports that sex trafficking victims are often forced to create pornography, which is then distributed to consumers. Okay. A 2018 study reveals that 49% of sex trafficking survivors reported being filmed or photographed. Now, I don't know if that number that's kind of a high number, so I don't know if that's true or not. But they go together. I don't care what anybody wants to tell you. So I read somewhere that 50% of all child porn is produced in the United States. I don't know if that figure is true or not, man. I mean, that sounds kind of high. The thing is, I've seen a lot of stuff online that said that the porn industry and sex slave trafficking is very strongly connected. I've seen some studies disputing that. Okay. At the end of the day, we really don't know. I mean, is that DVD you was watching back in the day of some woman pretended, I read somewhere that 50% of all child porn is produced in the US. I don't know if that figure is true, and I actually kind of hope it's not. That would be sad if it was. But man, I've seen a lot of stuff online that's saying that pornography and sex slave trafficking is strongly connected. I've seen a few studies saying that it's not. I really don't know, but let me ask you this. Whether you start watching pornography on VHS or DVD, or you watch it on free porn sites, how do you really know that that scene you watched, you know, was somebody doing some role playing, that this chick was not really being raped? Okay. How do you know for a fact that these women, or even some of these dudes, in some of this pornography, that these people are not underage? Okay. How do you know for a fact that this person wasn't coerced or forced to be in that porn video? Because we know that does happen. We do know that you have young women who are tricked. You even have some cases of men being tricked or threatened or forced to do it. You don't know. You really don't know. And I know somebody will bring up, what about exploitation in other industries? You got exploitation in agriculture. You got exploitation in this industry, in that industry. Hey, here's the thing. We don't record that exploitation in other industries and put it online or put it on VHS or DVD for people to enjoy. Okay, We don't make money off that exploitation, at least not knowingly. Okay. And one form of exploitation doesn't justify the other. Okay. Here's the thing: the sex slave trafficking that does take place in the porn industry needs to be addressed. That doesn't mean you can't address exploitation in other industries. But I'm telling you, the porn industry is demonic, man. When you want consuming and you watching, it's demonic. It's going into your soul, and demons are attached to it. Okay, that's just my thoughts. If you think that this industry is something that God approves of, you pulling a Jedi mind trick on yourself.